Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. It's Adrian, and my special guest for today is Nicole. Now, how do I pronounce this, Nicole? Papadimas?
Yes, not many people get that pronunciation right, but you actually did that very well.
Okay, is that Greek?
It is Greek.
There you go. So Nicole Papadimas, who is a Miss Australia Pageants National Finalist for this year, which is 2024. Nicole, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be on.
What's your day been like? You actually live in the same state as I do, so I can actually have a conversation about local events versus, talking to someone who's in the US or the UK. So what's your day been like? What's your week been like? How's pageant prep, all that crazy stuff?
Day has been good. I had to get through some work this morning, but all weeks are kind of blurring into one at the moment. It's just been work, come home from work, and pageant prep. And that has been my life every day. I think I've run myself down. I had a rolled ankle. I came down with a bit of a sickness, but we're pushing through the last 2 weeks and we'll be ready to go.
Dare I ask how you rolled your ankle?
In pageant training, of course. True pageant style in the heels. Last minute of my training and I stacked it.
Was it minor? Was it bad? I mean, I have a lot of experience rolling my ankles, and I did mine properly. Like it's swollen up like a watermelon. How bad was yours?
Ooh. Yeah, I've had the really bad ones. Thankfully, this one wasn't too bad, but it just kind of tried to keep off my feet for a little bit, just because I know I can't have a weak ankle, obviously, coming into pageant week. So yeah, I kept off it for a week, and now I'm back in a place where I'm ready to train again. But thankfully, it wasn't
Okay.
any horrible swelling or anything, just very minor, but enough to get you off the heels for a bit.
Were you trying to nail a fancy turn, or did you just have a moment where you weren't concentrating and you just went over?
I was trying to do a bit of a turn, and I was testing something new out. Probably shouldn't have this soon, but yeah, it was fine. We're back to normal again, so I can get back to my training.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen obviously more than a few pageants live in person, and the one thing that always makes me sort of cringe is when the girl is walking back away from the audience, and she's walking, we see her back, and then she tries to nail a 360 on her way back and sort of flash a smile at the audience. That one, I've only seen one or two pageant girls really be able to do confidently, and normally it's because they're dancers. Everyone else who tries it, I just I get, the fingers down the nails down the chalkboard because it's not easy. Were you trying to nail that one just out of interest?
No, thankfully not. I
Okay.
did try it a few times, but that wasn't the one I rolled my ankle on. It was a bit more of a simple turn. I just must have kind of lost my balance a little bit on it, but that's why we train, hey?
Yeah, I'm not going to judge you. I'm sure you're much better in heels than I am, so we'll just leave that at that. But Nicole, this is I know that last year at Miss Australia Pageants, you've written that it was your first time at Miss Australia, but also your first pageant ever. So let's wind the clock back a bit. You said that you got into the Royal Court and you won Best in Interview, so that's not bad. That's not bad for your first ever pageant. But let's wind the clock back a bit. Tell me more about your experience last year.
Yeah, of course. So, I guess taking it back before that, I had never been on a runway, never walked a runway in heels, never had a photo shoot before. Um, Pageantry and modeling was always something that I had in the back of my mind, but it was just something that I had never given myself the courage to go ahead and pursue. And then last year, I just came across an ad on Instagram for Miss Australia Pageants, and I thought, you know what, maybe it's time that I actually just give it a go and see if I'd even get in. And I was lucky enough to be selected. So I flew up to the Gold Coast on my own to compete. And I just had the most incredible time. Like the second I was on the plane, all my discomfort, I was just at ease. And I knew that I had made the right
Okay.
decision, and I knew I was flying somewhere that I was meant to be. And then I just absolutely had the best week and made such beautiful friends through pageant week, and had kind of my first run at going on a runway in heels and being in photo shoots. And mind you, last year I didn't even really practice because I had a month from when I signed up, got in. There was a month from then until actually going and competing. So making a national costume and getting everything in order, I didn't really practice runway. So I went into it completely blind to the whole pageant industry in general. And then, yeah, to come away, honestly, in top 5 and win Best in Interview was absolutely insane. I was crying. You probably would have thought I had won if you, like, saw my face. Afterwards,
Right.
I felt like I had just won, like, the biggest competition ever. But, yeah.
So last year you didn't practice and you didn't roll your ankle. This year you're practicing and you rolled your ankle. I'm not sure what the moral of the story is I'm supposed to take from that, Nicole.
Because I'm on my heels more. There was more chance. Last year I was winging it.
What drew you to pageantry? Because you said you never done pageantry or modeling before. I think with modeling, okay, the attraction of being a model, I think a lot of people have in their heads, it's glamorous, etc., etc. You get to wear beautiful clothes. But pageantry is obviously a bit different to that. So what drew you to pageantry?
Yeah, so it was always kind of the modeling in the pageant world was always something I had seen, and I like grew up following like a few of the pageants, nothing too hardcore, but like I always just like to like watch the videos when they'd come up, and it just seemed like something that I would love, but I didn't really know too much about it. And it was just something that I really knew that I wanted to experience. So I kind of truly went into it very blind, as everyone else assumes Miss Congeniality is what pageants like. That's the mindset I had last year going into it, and quickly learned it is so much more than that. So it was just a passion that I had deep down that I had never given myself the chance to chase, and I thought it was finally time that I just go ahead and see if I'm any good at it or if it'd be something that I'd enjoy. And I quickly found out it was all of that, and now I can't stop thinking about pageants.
You've caught the bug, you've caught the virus, so to speak, and now your job is to go and give that to everyone else. What was your experience like last year? Because you said you went into it blind, and I don't think you're alone in that. I think a lot of girls, probably all girls, go into pageantry, and you don't really ever know what something is like until you give it a go yourself. But when you were actually there, because you said as soon as you got on the airplane, you kind of knew that I'm headed in the right direction. But what was that first experience like?
It was awesome. So the Miss Australia Pageants family is just super supportive. So before I had even gotten there, I was in a group chat with all the girls. I had been talking to them. I had been in touch with like previous queens to like get an idea of what on earth I was walking into. And when I got there, everyone was just as supportive and kind and super uplifting and empowering. And then the whole week was just so much fun. So you spend some days doing photo shoots, and then you have your judging sections, like your interview. And there's just so many different components to it. And it's just such a nice chance to be around like-minded women who are really passionate about similar things. And yeah, just an incredible experience.
Well, Miss Australia leads on to 3 major pageants now. And I don't know if this has crossed your mind at all, but if you made Royal Court last year, not knowing what you were getting into and with no practice, and you're coming back this year, and obviously you've practiced, maybe practiced too much if you're falling over, twisting your ankle. What, you already said you cried last year. What would happen this year if you happen to take out one of the titles and we're sending you suddenly, overseas to represent Australia?
Oh, stop. That gives me like butterflies when you think about it. Well, I mean, yeah, like I said, I was crying. Like I was crying when they announced me in like top 10. I had a tear starting to come. Top 5, I was like, okay, what on earth is happening?
Well, hang on. How much were you crying? It sounds like you were crying the entire time you were on stage.
Every time my name got called, the tears came a little bit more. Yeah, so I can't comprehend. Obviously, I think about it. I'm sure we all do. We all think about that moment of what it would be like to be crowned. But I'm trying to kind of obviously keep that a little bit out of the picture, because obviously that's not the most important thing here. I'm just honestly so excited to be back. However, if that were the case, you'll have to watch the live stream and you'll probably see me bawl.
Should I just walk up to the front of the stage with a box of Kleenex for you, tissues? Like, here you go. I've often thought that pageants have all these sponsors. I often think pageants need a tissue sponsor. And, because some of the sashes have pockets behind them. And the only thing you should have in there, apart from your phone, is probably just a box of Kleenex so that, have you worked out this is a really important question. Have you worked out how to dab your tears without ruining your makeup?
Oh yeah, like the pageant, like the cry, like the pretty cry. Yeah, I don't know if I have that. Some of the girls you see their crowning moments, and I'm like, how do you look so good crying? Like
It's practice. Like, honestly, I had a former Miss Universe Great Britain over with me, and we went skydiving together. And she had worked out. She had looked up before we went skydiving. I don't know if have you ever been skydiving? Yeah. Okay. Put it this way: when you dive down, there's obviously quite a lot of wind, and your cheeks basically go up to your forehead. Yeah. And so it looks like you're the Joker, with that really evil grin on your face. And most people look terrible. She had done the research into how to do her hair and what to do with your face so that when they took her photo, she didn't look like an absolute mess. And so when you look at her photo compared to my photo, so to answer your question, yes, there is a particular technique. I can't say what it is, but there is a particular technique to pretty crying because there's very definitely something that's ugly crying. I'm sure you must have seen photos.
But to be honest, I love the ugly crying photos too. I feel like they're so real. And
it's more authentic.
I love seeing those real emotions, like the pretty cries. I'm like, I'm a little bit jealous of you, to be honest. I was like, I wish I could look that good when I cry, but I do really love the ugly crying photos. Not to say they're ugly, because obviously all the women are stunning.
We know, yeah.
Cry.
Yeah, I think we might as well embrace the authenticities. So, when you cry, just go for it, and it'll be great whichever way it goes. Absolutely. Now, you got more than a few newcomers heading up to Miss Australia pageants this year, which is great. As the voice of experience, having competed in 1 year before, but would you have any advice for the newcomers who are probably in your shoes, feeling all kinds of nervous, anxious, and I don't know what else? But do you have any advice for the newcomers?
Yes, definitely. I absolutely I feel like I'm still not fully experienced, obviously, in the pageant world, only being 1 year in, but I feel like I learned so much just from that one experience. And I already am making sure all the girls that come to me with any questions, I'm just dumping as much information on them as I can, just because we all need that help. And I was lucky enough to receive a lot of that help last year from people that I reached out to. So it's really nice to have that community. But I would say biggest piece of advice and what I took into it last year was just being yourself and just rocking up. I obviously no practice. I kind of just showed up as myself, and I just went through the week winging it. And honestly, that paid off. And I think that goes to show that they honestly are just looking for someone who is really authentically themselves and can show that.
Yeah. I think with that, I would hesitate to guess, and obviously I don't know you because I haven't spoken to you before, but when certain people wing it and it works out well, certain people wing it and maybe it doesn't, I would hesitate to guess you must be fairly self-aware and you must have done some inner work to be able to wing it and have it turn out well. You must have some idea of who you are, what you stand for. You probably also worked fairly hard so that you have some idea of what you want to achieve in life. Would that be a fair guess?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it was just a passion as well for me that I had kind of deep down, and it was something that I had obviously never given myself the chance to try. So the fact that I was finally going to kind of chase this passion, just like kind of fueled this fire, and it gave me so much joy to go and finally kind of try something new like that. And then, yeah, just honestly rocking up there with no expectations in my first one, just there to have a little bit of fun and kind of chase that passion, really paid off for me. And I was so excited and I was so happy with how it all turned out.
Tell me about interview. A lot of girls, you won best in interview. A lot of girls, that's their phobia. A lot of people, the thought of public speaking is just it's death to them. So you took out best in interview. It was your first time at a pageant. So how did you manage to do that?
So probably backstory to interview. I did grow up doing public speaking and debating.
Hmm.
So I guess there was kind of that confidence deep down that I am comfortable talking to people. And I've been put under pressure a lot on stage talking about things I have no idea what I'm talking about. So I can ramble when I need to as well. But yeah, I just kind of walked in there and Miss Australia pageants, they do generally ask you questions about yourself.
Yep.
And I don't know, I just felt very comfortable. I honestly didn't walk out of it feeling like that was the best interview ever. I had no idea. I kind of walked out and I was like, I really don't know what I just spoke about in there. 3 minutes just flew. And I was like,
Yep.
I really hope I didn't ramble, but I mean, that's okay. Like, I'm just here to like have a good time and see how it all goes. But yeah, they must have really obviously enjoyed what we spoke about.
I
So
must have.
yeah, I'm just hoping to kind of take that mentality back into it this year and hopefully we can do it again.
It is quite common, I will say, that girls come out of interview and blank, as in they have no recollection of what they've just said. And they just know they were in there. They come out, I can't remember any questions that was. I can't remember what I said. Do you feel that your debate experience, I remember good old debate back in school. I equally parts like loved it and hated it sometimes. But did you find your debate experience helped you in interview?
Um, yeah, probably, definitely that with mixed in with the public speaking.
Yeah.
More so just in the sense that people are asking you questions, like you would have to do impromptu speaking back in the day. So you'd have your speech that you could memorize. And obviously, I can memorize things very well now, but obviously, in
Mm.
an interview, people are asking you questions you're not fully prepared for. So I guess it
Yeah.
really helps that I'm able to think on my feet. And also just being and talking about something that I'm really passionate about as well. And being in that environment just makes it so
That
much more
helps.
exciting. So
Yeah.
this year, coming off last year, I'm even more excited now to go into interview just because I'm so passionate about it and I know kind of what I'm doing now. So it's just a little bit more exciting, but I guess a little bit daunting coming off a best in interview last year.
I'm sure you'll be fine. I mean, it always helps if you're passionate and interested in a topic. It's very difficult to talk about. I mean, I don't know how much you love mathematics, for example, but if you got me up talking about calculus, very difficult to come up with something to publicly speak about. But you mentioned public speaking as distinct from debating. So, what public speaking experience did you have? Was that part of school? Was it part of uni? Part of your work?
Yeah, it was more so in my younger years, so going all through primary school and then a little bit into high school.
Yeah.
We'd obviously everyone kind of does speeches in school, but then I would go and enter like the competitions within schools as well, both with public speaking and debating. And you
Right.
would go and compete at different schools against different kids, I guess. And yeah, I used to really enjoy it. It terrified me, but I used to be quite good at it, so I would kind of just push myself to do it every year. And I feel like that probably definitely helped me going into Miss Australia pageants last year and just in life in general because I'm
Yeah.
now comfortable if I need to stand on a stage and talk to people about anything.
Yeah. What sort of format was it in? Because I didn't do public speaking back at school. Was it prepared? Was it impromptu? How long was it? Did you get to pick the topics? Were the topics set?
Yeah, so there are two components to it. So there was in like the competitions I would enter, there was the prepared format. So from memory, it's been a very long time, there'd be a general topic that you would need to write about. I don't know if
Right.
they give you like a sentence or if they give you a topic. There would be something there, and you would have to prepare a 3 to 4 minute speech. And for that, I just memorized. I was one of those people that could memorize word for word, and then I'd hold my palm cards on stage because you would
Yeah.
look weird if you didn't hold them. But I knew what was on them, so
You
I'd
didn't need
pretend to
them.
put them down. I would go, oh yeah, but I would actually not need to read them. Um, and then there was the impromptu section. So they would give you, I think you'd walk into a room and you'd sit down and there was a piece of paper in front of you with a topic or something like that. And you'd have, I think it was something crazy, a couple of minutes or so,
Yeah.
no more than 10 minutes to sit down, write
Yeah.
something, and then you'd get up and present that. That was usually like a shorter speech, 1 to 2 minutes.
Right. Do you have any like greatest hits memories from your time of public speaking, or any absolutely miserable failures that you don't want to talk about?
Definitely both. I still remember like some of my first speeches from like year one. These were just in like little school competitions.
Year one.
Yeah.
Wow. Right.
I
Okay.
can tell you, I dressed up as a horse. And I wrote a speech about horses, and I can still remember the opening line, which is how good my memory is of these speeches.
What was the opening line?
So I was there I think I had a little horse tail on from memory, but I was like, I neighed like a horse, obviously. So I went, neigh, neigh. Did I just see someone eating my hay? I'm a horse, of course. I'm a pinto horse, which means I'm black and white. And then that went on a little bit more.
This is not a preview of what you're going to be doing in interview at Miss Australia Pageants in a week. You're not going to turn up in a horse costume.
Yeah, so that was some good highlights there. And then obviously I do remember one particular speech. It was for an impromptu, and I walked into that room and they gave me a topic. I think I was in year 4 at the time. I'm traumatized. And they gave me a topic that was, I think, a slightly more political topic. And it was one, I had switched schools. So there was a topic that I had missed in between these two schools that you learnt in one year, went to the new school, hadn't learnt it. That was given to me. And I went on that stage and I stood there and I spoke about how I didn't know what a word meant in the question. And I spoke for like a minute and a half on how I didn't know what I should talk about for the speech, because obviously I wasn't going to stand up there and embarrass myself and cry. So I just had a little bit of fun with it. But I got off the stage very embarrassed, but it was a good laugh for everyone.
See, I don't know that I would consider that. I mean, I can understand it was embarrassing, but I don't think that I would consider that a failure at all, because I think you adapted to the circumstances as best you could, had a bit of a laugh at yourself. So I would actually think that's very clever of you, especially in year 4.
It's still ingrained in my mind, that feeling of being on stage going, this is embarrassing because all these kids know what this like topic is and I have no idea. But I came off laughing. My parents were laughing.
That's good, yeah.
But yeah, some kids come off, like really upset or scared.
Yeah.
But I think I had just learnt by that point to you just have to speak, say anything, just get a speech out.
Yeah, it's not as easy for some. I mean, I have a nephew who's probably in about year 4 now, and he had his first public speaking thing, and he memorized it, but probably a minute or so in forgot he was also quite nervous. So, when you're nervous, some people speed up. And so I think his words got in front of his brain, and then he just kind of stood there for a bit, that awkward silence, and then he remembered. But I mean, that's a learning experience, isn't it? You don't remember, perchance, the word that you discussed in this year 4 speech, the one that you had no idea, or the topic or the subject?
No, that's kind of gone from my memory. I don't know if I ever learnt what it meant after that point. I'm sure I would have had to go and research. But there was I know it was some topic in between me switching schools, and they learnt it in 1 year, and then I moved schools and it had already been learnt, and I didn't know I was going to need it in a speech. So yeah.
I think you did well. I also want to ask, so how important do you think it is in this day and age to be good at, let's not say even public speaking, but just more generally being able to present yourself, being able to present a case, being able to present a point? I know that you work in social media, and we'll certainly get to that, but I feel that school teaches a lot of things, some of which are very relevant, some of which in this day and age with social media, the internet, and now AI, it seems like there's not much point learning it. Public speaking to me has always seemed like one of those things everyone should have a go at it, because even if you're not good at it, that's actually important to know so that you can practice it. because you get in front of social, you get in front of an interview. Let's say you're in IT or you're in social media and you need to present your case. You want to win, let's say, a big client. If you can't speak, it doesn't matter how good you are. No one will ever know. So what has your experience been like? What would you say about the importance of practicing public speaking?
Yeah, so I would say it's really, really important. It's obviously not something I've obviously practiced since like school, but it's something that since I had learnt it, I've been able to carry it with me through everything, I guess. And now, especially coming into pageantry, I've found that it's really come back more importantly. And a little bit through work. Obviously, in some of my jobs, I've not had to necessarily present as such, but it's just having that confidence to communicate in front of a big crowd, in front of a small crowd, and even not even communicating, but standing up and being comfortable in front of that crowd now means when I got up on that stage for the pageant, I wasn't fussed about having 100 people staring at me. Or walking on a runway, I was like, oh yeah, they're just kind of watching me and there's a crowd there. But you just got to kind of do your own thing.
Which one did you find more daunting? Your first time public speaking or your first time up on that stage?
Probably public speaking for sure. Weirdly, so at Miss Australia Pageants last year, I remember having like kind of a bit of a nervous feeling before I stepped down on that stage for the first time. But I don't know, it kind of went away very quickly. And once you're on stage, you're not really thinking about it. I feel like you're so focused on trying to work out your routine and like where to walk, stop. Am I smiling? Is my posture okay? That you don't even think about the crowd. You're kind of just out there focused on giving your best performance.
Why don't you tell us more about your work as well? Because I know that you work, I've got what you wrote down, and obviously social media seems to perform. It's a big part of what you do. So tell me what you studied and what you do on a daily basis.
Of course. So I graduated in 2020. So I studied a Bachelor of Communications and Media, majoring in digital and social media and minoring in marketing and advertising. And then from there, I've had a few jobs. My first job, I went into events, working for the university and like putting on really fun events for university students to kind of enhance their experience on campus. And then from that job, I went into a social media job and I was running the social media accounts of 4 businesses, which ranged from theme parks to restaurants to cafes and like function centers. So they were like kind of 4 separate kind of businesses there.
Yeah.
And then I did that for 2 years. And then earlier this year, I was made redundant. And then and then I recently picked up some work doing merchandising for grocery retailers for like energy drinks.
I saw that. So you're creating content around energy drinks? When you say merchandising, I'm just not completely clear what that means.
Yeah, so no, it's not so social media based now. So this job, I've stepped back from the social media and it's more so being in store and building the relationships with store managers and ensuring the brands that I'm taking care of are presented well in stores. And then on the side of that, I'm still pursuing my social media passions by doing like content creation for brands and then also doing a little bit of modeling work for fun where I can fit everything in.
Sure. I mean, obviously you do social media for yourself. Why don't I start with an easier question? Which social media platform is your favorite and which one's your least favorite at the moment?
So currently it was TikTok used to be my favorite, but I think Instagram has kind of shifted to become more of a favorite, especially like around pageant time. I just really love that platform. Least favorite and probably not used is like Twitter. I know it has its benefits and I had to use it a lot through university, but it's definitely one that kind of died off on me. So I'm definitely more so on Instagram. Yeah,
it's funny. Twitter, anytime I log on, or X, whatever it's called now, Yeah, I just look at it and it's now got all this feed stuff, and I look at it and I don't want to read it. So I probably log on to X when I remember, maybe once every 2 weeks. I'm actually probably more on Threads
Oh,
than I
Threads,
am
yeah,
on
that too.
X.
I haven't used that.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Every now and then, like today, I got followed by a couple of pageant girls, and they've obviously just only jumped on Threads now because they haven't posted anything. So, better late than never. How do you feel about Facebook? Or are you too young to know what Facebook is?
No, I like Facebook. I actually didn't get it till like after high school. I had it really late.
Wow.
Yeah. I like it, but for me, it's more of like a personal thing.
Yeah.
I don't really use it for anything public or pageant related at the moment. I don't really post on it at all, to be honest. It's more so just following people I know. I definitely just like to keep more of the Instagram, kind of the public
Yeah.
space where I share all things pageant and modeling and things like that.
Yeah. To be honest, I only ever go on Facebook to delete all the friend requests that I get because it's people who I don't know. I only want people who I'm actually friendly with to be on my friends list. So I think I had to delete like 20 friend requests the other day. Why don't let's dig into social media a bit. I mean, social media is going through, even just in Australia, there's all this talk around banning phones from schools. And I think the government at the moment, I won't ask you about this because obviously that's politics, but I think I heard somewhere that one of the states wants to ban social media for anyone under the age of 14. So there's a lot of I don't want to say demonization because obviously social media does have some negative effects, but you working in it, you're obviously passionate about it. So why don't we go into why you're passionate about social media, given that, of course, there are negatives if you become addicted to it, etc. But what gets you excited when you look at the world of social media?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, obviously it does have a negative side. But just looking at the positives, I honestly think it's just such a great platform for, especially being someone who loves all things creative. I think it's just a really great
Hmm.
platform for people to kind of express that creativity and also have the chance to be a positive role model to others that are following them, and especially being a lot of younger people on the app as well. It's so important that there are people on there that are doing good things and are kind of
Mm.
being that positive role model, just because obviously the younger generation are more impressionable.
What are some of the things when it comes to creating your own content that you really try to push or are very mindful of? I seem to remember, I could be wrong, but I think I saw, was it a reel of you and you didn't have makeup on? I could be wrong. I see so much stuff, but I think very often on Instagram in particular, there are some, not even just pageant girls, but influencers who are kind of guilty of the heavy Photoshop, the heavy makeup, and all this other stuff on every post. And to your point about there being a lot of young users, I think it's one thing when you see it as an adult and you go, okay, that's fine. I realize this person doesn't always look like that. But I think for a young person seeing that, they don't quite have that distinction. So, what sort of things are important to you in terms of authenticity when it comes to creating your own content?
Yeah, so like you said, being especially in the pageant industry as well, we do see a lot of heavily filtered images and
Mm.
videos and Photoshop and things like that. And I completely understand the need for those in the pageant industry. I think it's so important that we have those really glamorized images as well.
Mm.
But for me personally, I have those images, obviously being in like modeling as well and having photos taken that are
Yeah.
edited. But I also really try and push just that authentic content that isn't all glamorized and isn't filtered. So all of the photos I take of myself, I won't go and add any of I'll filter it with like a
Yeah. Yeah.
lighting, but I won't go and
Yeah.
edit any of my facial features just because I know if younger people are looking um, at my images, it's so important that they can see that these are real images and they're real, but they're edited. So like you said, I do post videos with no makeup and I might transition from no makeup to makeup. So people
Mm.
can see that this is my skin and this is how I look every day. And then
Yeah.
this is how I now look when maybe I'm stepping into the pageant world. So they can see that there is a clear difference
Yeah.
and it's not all makeup and perfectly filtered skin all the time. And we all kind of Yeah, we all have real skin and we all have imperfections. And that's something I really try and push as well on my page. And also videos of me like falling over, rehearsing for a runway. I showed myself falling over in a video 5 minutes before I went on a runway and then on the runway. So people can see that, we all kind of trip up and make mistakes, but we're on the runway and we're all good.
Which runway did you fall on? I didn't see this.
It wasn't on the runway, but I was in a bridal runway. So I was rehearsing in a dress. I had issues all day. They forgot my dress, and I ended up getting in a dress like a few minutes before the show, which was so big that I was like walking, breathing out to like keep the dress from falling down. But a couple minutes before the runway, I was like just practicing walking in it, and I had fallen over, and one of the girls caught it on video. So I thought, well, you know what? This is something that most people wouldn't really share. So I feel like I need to share that to show people that, yeah, we fall over too, but it's okay.
You seem to have had some experience with falling. I don't want to jinx you. Are you a graceful faller? Have you learned how to sort of embrace the gravity, so to speak, and roll with the punches? Or are you kind of like bang and everyone goes, ooh?
Yeah, that one wasn't flattering. You can go and watch it on my Instagram. It was just a little trip. I'm not a graceful faller yet. Thankfully, they're my only 2 fallings I've had in heels. But yeah.
Have you branched much into the modeling world? I mean, obviously you're walking on a bridal runway, so I'm curious to find, we talked a bit about your pageant experience. How have you found the modeling world?
So it's definitely a little tricky to get into, and obviously not as big here in Australia. So I kind of just do things here and there when opportunities come up. I've done a few runways up in Sydney, and I just love it. I guess kind of it ties in a little bit with the pageant world to some extent. They do have their differences, but I just like being on stage and, getting dressed up and meeting like creatives. So I just find it a really fun experience.
What do you find to be the major differences between pageantry and modeling, at least when it comes to the runway part of it?
Yeah, so I would definitely say in modeling, they care more about the clothes than you. Not like the people, but you're kind of there more so to sell the clothes. So it's a lot less personality, whereas pageantry is all about the personality, and that's pretty much what you're selling. So on a pageant stage, you can smile more, you can look around more, whereas in the kind of modeling world, it's a little bit more serious, but I still like to bring a bit of that pageant flair. They haven't got me like serious the whole way. I'll still throw in a smile just because I can in the experience that I've had. They've not been too serious. But yeah, so definitely I think personality is probably the biggest difference I've found, which is why I lean towards pageantry in that sense, just because I absolutely love being on a stage and being able to show my personality and smiling. I'm much more of a happy, smiling person, more so than a serious one.
I've often wondered, because there's this whole stereotype when it comes to modeling that all the girls look miserable. And I don't think it's that they're miserable. I think, well, maybe sometimes they are, but very often it seems to me they were told, or there is this thing where you're not allowed to smile because you're basically a walking clothes horse. But I'm just curious, like, what happens if you go onto a runway, a modeling runway, and you do smile? I mean, do they never get you to come back? I mean, what happens if you smile?
So thankfully, the runways I have done haven't been serious in the fact that they're not going to tell you off. So you do find a lot of the girls do kind of keep that serious look the whole way down the runway. But I like to check before. So I just say, is it okay if I'm like, I'm smiling a little more and showing a little more personality? And thankfully on the runways that I've done, they've said yes. So I kind of like to lean into that a little bit more, just because I personally would prefer to watch a runway where someone's connecting with you. Even though we're selling clothes, I would prefer to connect with someone whilst they're selling clothes.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be more tempted to buy clothes from someone who looks like they're enjoying them rather than someone who looks like they're having the worst time of their lives. Do you have a blue steel look that modeling? Do you have a particular face that you put on when you're modeling when you're not allowed to smile?
Yeah, just something a little more serious. It's definitely something. I'm not a serious person, as you could probably
Okay.
tell. Like I smile a lot, so it's one I kind of just you bring it out and you just hold it for the stage. But as soon as I'm like out of vision, big smiles back.
I think you might be more destined for the pageant runway than the modeling runway. Then, if you can't resist the temptation to smile. Just going back to the social media for a while, do you have any? Have you given any thoughts to where you want your career to end up, like in a year, 2 years, 5 years from now?
Yeah, so I mean, social media is always something that I'm really passionate about. So it would be really cool to get into that space. Specifically, I would say more in the fashion or beauty industry, or if possible, if an opportunity ever opens up in the pageant industry doing social
Mhm.
media, that would probably be the best job ever because social media and my biggest passion in one. I could think of nothing better.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely something in that space.
Well, I can tell you beyond the shadow of a doubt, there are a lot of directors out there who could use someone to help run their social media because they are too busy doing everything else to do a good job at running their social media. And as everyone knows, I think a lot of girls, their first sort of connection with pageantry, as in your case, is through social media. And I think very often, if you look at someone's social media and it hasn't been updated since last year, it doesn't leave a very good impression.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that you could, use those public speaking skills and maybe have a word, and you could develop a brand that way.
Yeah,
Maybe.
this is a public service announcement. Hi, directors. I'm ready to run social media.
You want to deliver your? I mean, what would be if you were to do it? And I'm not putting you through the ringer and saying how would you do it. This is. I mean, maybe someone's watching this and you go, oh, hi, Nicole. But how would you like to run? Let's say a pageant media's a system's Instagram. Let's be specific. So Instagram. So you got photos, you got reels, you got stories, you got highlights, all that stuff. Link in bio. What are some of the ideas you would have, let's say, creatively speaking, or message wise, in terms of authenticity, if you were to take over a pageant system social media?
Yeah, of course. So I'd be on there consistently. I feel like it's so important to just be on there as much as you
Yeah.
can and sort of post as much as you can to get that awareness. Um, but it's something that Miss Australia pageants are doing really well, especially this year, showing all of the contestants and sharing things that they've shared on their Instagram account and showing what we're up to and what we're doing in preparation. Um, and a lot more reels as well of showing like maybe
Yeah.
behind the scenes of what it's like to prepare for a pageant because obviously we go into these pageants and we know how much work our directors put into it. They're planning these for probably as soon as we finish one, they're already planning next year's. So it'd be really cool to see more behind the scenes of all different pageants and like what directors are doing to put it together. Just because I know as contestants we do have that appreciation, but to actually see what they're doing would be really
Mm.
cool as well. And then yeah, probably just encouraging contestants to be more authentic within their posts. It's not something we see much on social media, especially in pageantry. But yeah, not to say all the girls are not being authentic because obviously everything they're posting
Yeah.
is real,
Yeah.
but being
I
more
get it.
authentic in the sense that they're showing all sides of the pageant, like preparation and showing their natural beauty, showing them glam, and sharing that as well, just because I feel like that's a really important message that the pageant shares themselves as well to the girls. So people that are
Yeah.
entering know that it's a really inclusive community and everyone's really empowering as well.
Yeah, I think it'd be a really cool thing to see more of the girls' personalities behind the scenes come out. I mean, there's no, obviously, the main people that I follow are pageant girls. And so there's no shortage of absolutely perfectly posed photos, maybe at a professional photo studio that people pay thousands of dollars for. But honestly, after our discussion, the one post that I want to go and see is the one of you falling over. Not because I like the idea of you falling over, but because it's kind of funny and it
And it's,
shows
it's
the
real.
personality. Yeah, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so I'm much more tempted now. I want to go see that. Whereas if you told me you had a photo shoot, someone would be like, cool, but I'm not sure that would have the pull on me to go and watch it. And so I think reels are a really interesting one. And I think this is where TikTok came to prominence, and why sometimes I think people who do well on Instagram don't necessarily do well on TikTok, because Instagram, you can, let's say, pose for the camera, obviously with photos. Whereas I find that the people who went on TikTok and did really well, I think they were more comfortable just kind of winging it and being imperfect, like perfectly imperfect. So I think, to your point, I'd really love to see more behind the scenes and the girls sort of showing their personalities, as opposed to all the, I know there's a place for the perfectly posed photo, and obviously we love that. But do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And that's something that that I really noticed. And obviously I know in my life I am not glammed up like that all the time. Like we
Like
have
this,
jobs.
I wake up like this.
We know we all have jobs, and some of us don't really have glamorous jobs. Like I wear all black to work, and it's not something that's super glamorous, but yeah. And then we have the pageant side as well, but I feel like
Yeah.
it's so nice just to see real beauty as well as that like really nice glamorized
Yeah.
beauty as well, and kind of find a nice mix between the two in the pageant industry.
Yeah. How did your inner circle react to you entering your first pageant last year? I mean, you said that was your first one. So and pageantry is not that well known in Australia. So were they all like, "Oh, it's like, is it Miss Congeniality?" Or did they sort of, was it like an ongoing process of education?
Yeah, so like I said, I entered. I hadn't told anyone that I did enter, so I kind of just went
Okay.
and applied on my own.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then once I got that acceptance email, I was like, oh, now I actually have to tell people. So then I told my immediate family, and they were all a little bit confused by it, just as I was, because I didn't really know what I had signed up for, obviously.
Right.
So we were all a little confused together. And then on top of that, I had a month before I had to fly out. So it
That's
was,
good.
yeah. So
It
they
didn't
were
take too long to be confused, and it was only a month where they had to be confused.
yeah. So they were all really confused on what I was getting into, but they were really supportive. Like my mum helped me make my national costume, and
Oh,
she spends like hours helping me prepare and helping me pick outfits and things like that. So they were all really supportive, but no one came and watched last year just because I didn't really want anyone coming with me. I
yeah.
just wanted to go and do it.
Yep.
But this year they will be coming to watch, and they're very
Oh, good.
excited.
Good. So last year you were telling them they're not allowed to turn up, and this year you're like, please turn up.
Yeah, well, last year I was like, no, like it's okay. I think I just need to see what's going on first, and then I did really well. So like as soon as I was off that stage, I was on like FaceTime to them, showing them my little sash that I had won, and they were so happy. They watched the live stream, of course. But this year they were all really excited to fly up and actually watch it in person. So they're very excited to hopefully see me do a little bit better.
Well, this year, if you do better and you have all your closest people watching, last year you cried. This year it's just going to be worse, isn't it? Like, are you sure this is an intelligent course of action?
Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves first. Depends how the night goes.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, either way, I'll probably cry.
It's going well. Final question on the social media front. I mean, you work in social media. Do you ever find it difficult to balance and switch off?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I am on it a lot, especially around pageant time. You're just on there so much, and you're trying to like get your content filmed. You're trying to post
Yeah.
content. I really want to engage with all the girls that I'm competing with this year as well. So I really like to see what they're getting up to and make sure like I'm hyping them up as well. And we're all supporting each other. And then when I'm not on social media, I'm online shopping for things. So it's just constant exhaustion at the moment. I'm struggling with sleep, mix that in with work. But it's really fun, and I'm really enjoying it. And as tiring as it is, it's so exciting.
It does. Time flies when you're having fun. It does help. Did you have any particular icons or inspirations that you look up to in pageant land? I mean, it could have been a long time ago. I don't know, but like former or current, is there anyone in particular that you look up to and go, wow, that person's doing amazing things?
Yeah, so with inspirations, I'm such a weird person, and I actually don't have specific like individuals that come to mind. I really
Sure.
take inspiration from so many people, and even if they're not former queens or anything, I take it
Yeah.
from the girls I'm competing with, and I like to see what everyone's doing, and I kind of get inspired by everyone around me. Um, Last year, when I had applied and I was kind of figuring it all out and what I was going to do, um, Brooke, the former Miss Global Australia, was kind enough to be such a help for me. I think I messaged her so much with so many questions, and walking into that pageant week, she was such an inspiration for me last year. But honestly, there have just been so many beautiful queens. Our like current queens for Miss Australia pageants, Melanie and Janaea as well. They are just doing such incredible things, and it's just so exciting to kind of see what everyone does with their reign, or even
Yeah.
the girls that didn't place, what they're doing as well, just in the
Mm.
lead up, pre and post pageant. So yeah, I'm inspired by everyone. I think everyone's doing really incredible things in the pageant industry.
Yeah. I like that answer. Uh, do you, do you, is Brooke, do you know if Brooke is going to be there this year?
I do. So excited to have her back.
So, okay. Do you know how to annoy her? I only say this because I know Brooke quite well and I interviewed her. And I'm not saying that you have to do this. And I'm sorry, Brooke. Every time someone mentions you, I have to tell them how to annoy you. The thing that she really hates is when you put her name at the end of a sentence. So, like,
Wow.
why are you doing that, Brooke?
You feel
Because
like
it
you're in
feels,
trouble.
yeah, that's exactly what she
Yeah.
said. So anytime someone does that to her, it sets her off. It's really funny. I'm not saying to do that, and I'm sure no one will ever do that. But if you want to have a bit of fun with it, that's how you can annoy our former queen.
You
So
don't
just before
want to annoy Brooke.
I don't know, be kind of funny. But Nicole, just before we move towards a close, is there anyone that you would like to give a shout out to?
Oh, everyone. So definitely our directors of Miss Australia pageant, Sophia and Charlotte. Obviously for putting it together every year, they do such an incredible job, and I know myself and all the other contestants are so grateful, and it's such an awesome experience. Shout out to all the girls I'm competing with this year.
Mhm.
So excited. I haven't met all of them. We've got a lot of new faces this year, which is really
Yeah.
exciting. So I'm super keen to see the girls from last year, and then also meet all the new faces this year. And then, of course, all my friends and family for helping me through these past few months of preparations. Mum has been sewing away for hours on end for me. We've spent so much time preparing everything, but yeah, shout out to everyone who's listened to me talk about pageant preparation, honestly.
When are you flying up?
So I'll be flying up on the Tuesday, and then the pageant begins on Wednesday. So I've given
Right.
myself just a day to relax, because last year I arrived on the day and it was very stressful getting there on time. So learnt my lesson there.
Yeah, a year's experience can make a huge difference. So it sounds like
Honestly,
you
it
learned
does.
in pageant land. Yeah, that's a lot of time to think and to prepare. Let's zip through these final 10, shall we? So number one, what is your favorite word?
Ooh. I would say currently it's a running theme in probably everything I'm talking about, authenticity. Um, I love the word. Not only does it sound nice, but I love the message it stands for. And I'm using it a lot at the moment on my Instagram. It's in my bio, and it's just a message that I really want to promote, especially coming into the national finals this year.
So when you type in A on your phone, is it automatically auto completing to
Yeah,
authenticity?
authenticity or authentically, authentic. It's just such a nice word with a good meaning.
Yeah, I agree. What is your least favorite word?
Ooh, I would say, oh, my computer switched me out there. I would say failure or failing or fail, just because I feel like there is no such thing as failure, just because you can learn something from every situation, I guess. So if someone says, oh, like I failed at this, did you really fail, or did you just learn that something didn't work and maybe can you try something different? Yeah.
Number 3, in life, what gets you excited? What turns you on?
Pageants.
Pageantry. About as you're about to say it, I'm like, I know what's coming at me.
I know that's probably a common answer, I guess, especially in the pageant industry, but it's honestly one of my biggest, what is my biggest passion. I think about it 24/7. Yeah, pageantry. Easy.
I feel like in your future soon, apart from potentially representing Australia, there's going to be you working for a system, probably as a social media person. And then soon after that, when you've competed enough and got that out of your system, I feel like you're going to be a director. I feel like this is the life path that's in front of you just from speaking to you.
Well, that kind of sounds nice when you put it like that, doesn't it?
Until you're getting absolutely no, I mean, you're getting no sleep now. Just wait till you're dealing with 30. And then you'll be like, well, I used to get a lot of sleep before. I'm getting no sleep now.
Oh,
so
on that social media, because I'm going to have to be the social media director and the director, of course, right? Yeah. No
okay, so
sleep.
you hate sleep. All right, we've got that. So
No, I love sleep. I've not been getting enough.
What about, so that was what turns you on. What turns you off?
Negative people. I don't know if I need to say more. I like positive people with positive mindsets. So, yeah.
Yes, it does help to surround yourself with those people. Number 5, what sound do you love?
The ocean. The waves, the ocean. Just listening to the waves.
Are you anywhere near it where you're at?
Yeah. I'm very close to water, so we've got multiple beaches all along the coast here. So I love the beach.
Jealous of that. I'm about an hour away from the closest beach, which I know, first world problem, that's not far.
Oh,
but
I'm about 5 minutes from the beach and about 700 meters from a marina, so like a harbour.
I hate you already. There's the last time I went up to the Gold Coast and it was overlooking, I think it wasn't surface, but a beautiful, might have been Broad Beach, just this perfect beach. And I would go to sleep with the veranda door open because you could just hear the waves and you could smell the salt in the air, and it was just so peaceful. So I absolutely love the beach.
Back in the Gold Coast for that.
Well, it doesn't sound like you need it because you're right next to the beach already, and the weather here has been actually kind of nice.
It's a holiday vibe.
A holiday, she says, where she gets no sleep. Number 6, what sound do you hate?
Oh, easily. It happened yesterday. Filing nails.
When you were doing it yourself?
Yeah, like when you file your nails, or like when someone, actually it's worse when someone else is doing it.
I was going to say.
Someone's filing their nails next to you, or even at a nail salon. I don't really know. It's kind of like that chalkboard sound.
Yeah.
It gives the same vibes. No.
If you could have any one superpower, what would you pick and why?
Ooh. That's a tough one. There would be so many things. I think the last one I had thought about was, I don't really know if you'd call it a superpower, but I would love to be able to speak all the languages. I don't know if there's a term for all of the languages. I don't know if it's multilingual or if there's like a term for...
Probably omnilingual.
Yeah.
All languages. But no one is that, so I don't think that's an actual word.
Obviously, I'd love to fly and everything, but I think it would be really cool to be able to speak every language and then be able to travel everywhere and communicate with everyone in their language.
Yeah. What about what job would you most like to attempt?
I'd probably keep it something in the creative space still. I would love, if I had the skills for it, which I do not, let me say that, I would love to be like a pop star for a day. Like, if I could sing, I cannot sing. But if I could, I think that would just be such a cool life to like road trip a little bit and like your job's to sing for people.
Yeah. What's
So
your go-to karaoke song? Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to sing it. Don't worry. But what's your go-to karaoke song?
I love anything fun. I don't necessarily have a go-to, but if someone put on like Pitbull or like Black Eyed Peas or like something fun, I'd be there. I'd be singing. It wouldn't be good, but I'd be singing.
Do you rap Pitbull style? Because he's not, to some days they already sing. Do you get the whole Pitbull thing? He can be very quick with his words.
I can try. I don't know if I sound exactly like him, but
I would kind of hope not. Okay, what job would you definitely not like to attempt?
Oh, I would so not be a doctor or a vet or anyone that deals with like sickness. I don't do well with blood or sickness. I don't think I'd be very good at those. Or like a cop. That's kind of not sickness, but there's like shooting involved. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you already said that you like to smile a lot. And last time I checked, I've never seen a cop who came up to me smiling. Let's put it that way. So you'd probably be sending mixed messages if you're a cop and you walk up to someone that you have to give a ticket to whilst you're smiling.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, none of those jobs for me.
Okay, that's fair enough. Final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I probably wouldn't need any words. I would more so love just a highlight reel. I love videos. I grew up making videos from like all my trips. So I think just a nice long video summarizing life, I think that would just be really nice with like a nice banger of a song over it. Don't ask me what song, but a nice banger of a song just with all my memories.
So you'd like an Instagram reel is basically what you're saying.
Yeah, I think that'd be nice.
That's fair enough. All right. Well, Nicole, thank you so much for coming on. It was great getting to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
And best of luck at the upcoming pageant coming up very, very quickly. Try not to fall over or twist any more ankles before you head up there. It's probably a little bit too late to be doing that. But best of luck. And thanks everyone for watching. And we will speak to you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you. See ya.